Hey boys and boys, this week's topic is about male privilege, which
shit's about to hit the fan. Because today, I want to talk about male privilege.
So, I don't understand
because they live
that.
in white privilege.
Yeah.
And they live like so deeply in white privilege that they can't get their asses out of it.
White privilege is white people who have skin privilege, who have unearned benefits and advantages because of their skin color.
I wanted to talk about heterosexual privilege.
Or heterosexual privileges.
Today's video is going to be about thin privilege.
Thin privilege.
Christian privilege is the idea that if you're Christian, you receive more benefits and rights than people who are not.
You know, that we need this word because transgenders have some privilege that transsexuals don't have, and that
kind of checklist of able-bodied people's privileges.
So much in the same way that there's racism and sexism and all of these other caste systems, there's also such a thing as human privilege.
Let me explain how this whole privilege concept works. A group of people who are resentful towards some other demographic, a majority demographic preferably, and label that demographic as privileged. By proclaiming them privileged, you can claim yourself to be a victim. The Western culture is a victim-worshipping culture. This was born from the egalitarian movement where the majority must be shamed and brought down a notch, and the minority given special treatment to bring them up a notch. Picture this metaphor if you will. A group of people run a race. This group consists of 90 guys named Dave, and 10 guys named Mark. Due to statistical probability, the guys who finish first, second and third are all named Dave. The Marks claim the Daves are privileged. They demand that the Marks must be given a head start on the next race. Again, due to statistical probability, the Daves win the race, so now all Daves must be punished, forced to wear lead shoes and to feel guilty for being a Dave. But still, due to statistical probability, the guys who finish first, second and third are still named Dave. The Marks are coming much closer to winning, but many Daves are feeling discriminated against for having to wear lead shoes. Since the word privilege was the magic word that gave the Marks their special treatment, many of the Daves start claiming it is the Marks that are privileged by being given a head start. The Marks reply,
"Oh, don't you start that. You just want our glorious victim status too. Yeah, I'll believe Daves are being discriminated against when I see Marks coming in first, second and third. Until then, sit down, shut up and check your privilege."
To take a look at the nauseating extremes of our victim culture, one need only look at the LGBT community and notice the most common topic is, who here is a bigger victim? There is a hierarchy of victimhood. Who has more privilege, the homo male or the homo female, the bi or the homo, the bi male or the bi woman, those who identify with their biological sex and those who do not, the pre-ops or the post-ops? Now stick race and feminist into the mix because queer theory and gender studies are permanently intertwined, and it's anyone's guess as to whose victim card has greater value. They have gone as far as to create various privilege checklists so that you can determine how privileged, victimized, or oppressive you are. Here is an example of the infighting within the LGBT.
This is what is happening in our community. People want to talk without having like adversarial tones like that. And we have a right to not listen to that shit. We have a right not to be told to fucking die in a fire, not to be told to like go put a gun in your fucking
Do you know how many trans women are killed every day?
Do you know how many fucking females are killed every day?
Oh my god,
they are females.
Trans women are females.
Trans women are not
yes,
females.
Go back to your like second wave feminism in the 60s. Like find your tagline.
You go fucking back to magical unicorn land. That's not gonna answer the fucking question.
I'm making strides to have a conversation with you.
You're just insulting me.
Don't you understand? The moment that you invalidate a woman's womanness, you're making a barrier. Yes, you are. The minute you say trans women are not female, you're invalidating
trans women are not female. No, they are not fucking female. It is not a big deal that they're not female.
What you're invalidating the existence of trans women as women. That is your
gender. Women's gender. Female is sex. It's not complicated.
You need to get your business out of what is engaged.
You need to fuck off because lesbians like female.
I'm not a lesbian, I'm queer.
Yeah,
fine,
that
but
again?
there are
I am hearing
I was
makes
defending
you
Ida.
not respectful towards us automatically.
And I am
Your
doing
presence in this space
not
is
because-
aggressive.
not
because you are in an
because-
inclusive
not-
space,
and
you have worked tirelessly towards exclusion.
No, that is actually.
You need
do
to
you want to
check
know
yourself.
Oh my God. Okay.
You
I'll
need
do
to
that.
check your fucking cis
I will
privilege.
do that. I will check.
It's fine.
my
It's fine. You know what? 20 years from now. 20 years from now.
But she's gonna say
Shit
she
will be
done
more
21. Yeah.
No, not that you'll be. I didn't say that.
Because shit will still be bad for females, and no one will give a fucking shit about it.
Please.
Right?
Taste the rainbow.
Victim worship can be seen most clearly in the LGBT, but this phenomenon isn't born within that group and then infects the mainstream. I believe it merely affects them more due to all the different classifications they give themselves. Each class is a divide, and each division wishes to outrank the other by holding the biggest victim card. Another way of understanding it is, the gender studies and queer theory teachings were heavily laced with cultural Marxism. Thus the feminist and LGBT culture is a shining example of cultural Marxism. But cultural Marxism is not exclusive to those cultures. It has infected the entire Western culture, some aspects more so than others. The LGBT's insistence on creating divisions is complicated and based on sexual nature and mating preferences. But again, under cultural Marxism, there is the dichotomy that all of society is either an oppressor or an oppressed. Therefore, when two subgroups within a larger group exist, each instinctively assumes themselves to be the oppressed and the other to be the oppressor. We were once a society that bragged about our accomplishments and well-standing, and are now a society that brags about our degree of victimhood, victimhood being real or imagined. As if there wasn't a big enough racial divide in America, the African American community to some degree has divided itself into light skin and dark skin. We then have fat versus thin, male versus female, and the list of divides in victim proclamation only grows larger, because victimhood is empowerment, and everyone wants to be empowered. People are encouraged to find new ways to divide themselves and say my side is the oppressed side because your side is privileged. The pursuit of an egalitarian utopia has led to the exact opposite. The only thing that can generate any cohesion is solidarity through a common enemy, but the weaker and more submissive their enemy becomes, the greater the infighting. Cultural Marxism fails because no matter how many enemies are destroyed, there is the compulsive need to reinvent the victimhood that is the driving force behind cultural Marxism. And something else I find disturbing is that those who use the term privilege are bigots. They are saying you need to get to the back of the bus, because you're privileged. They are saying I have a right to hate you, because you are privileged. They are saying I am entitled to take away your rights, and even physically hurt you, because you are privileged. Being called privileged is bully slang for, my victim card makes me outrank you, get to the back of the bus.
So it's come to my attention that there's been some controversy surrounding some 3 little words, and I don't understand why. It's just a bunch of people having hissy fits that their status quos are being challenged. Die, cis, scum. This is a perfectly reasonable response to years upon years of transphobia and bigotry. Anyone who is a part of any minority group is entitled to anger. And if you think that a person is not entitled to being angry at the prejudices against them, then you're probably a privileged douchebag.
I love listening for key phrases like a person claiming entitled, while calling another privileged. Notice also she, or whatever that person is and or identifies as, is saying that hatred against the opposition, in this case cisgendered, is justified because of the victim-privilege dichotomy. This is a common theme in all groups subject to cultural Marxism. Here is another video. And I want to point out that this guy does tons of jump cuts, so it's not me editing him around to quote mine him.
Straight people are fucking awful. I hate straight men. Straight people ruin everything. Did that offend you when I just said that thing that I just said? When we were kids, I think we were all very specifically told, you can't say things like, I hate black people, because it's wrong to judge someone by the colour of their skin. It's wrong to say, I hate someone of a specific race. Really what they meant to teach us was perpetuating racism towards all these marginalised races in a world made for white people is wrong. The impression that so many of us, if not most of us, got is saying you hate white people is just as bad as saying you hate black people. And I think that is translated into our idea of queerness as well. Saying I hate straight people is not like saying I hate gay people. If you think it is, then you don't understand your privilege.
I encourage everyone to watch that entire 4-minute video. I have linked it in the description. Feminist and social justice activist, Adria Richards, also holds this belief. Back to the subject of privilege, I think since people are wanting to divide themselves so that they get their own special victim card, maybe I should help them. Here are some ideas. Career privilege, because people with jobs get more respect than unemployed, and they tend to have money to buy things with. Pretty privilege, because society prefers beautiful people, and they have more options in both career and dating. Tall privilege, because we all know that tall men are preferred by women. They have physical intimidation over the short, and women envy tall women, not to mention how much society looks down on midgets. Young privilege, because it's all about the women and children first. Won't someone think of the children? The children are our future. No one cares about you when you're old. College privilege, people with college degrees are given preferential job treatment. Diploma privilege, because people assume you're stupid when you tell them you are a high school dropout. Intellectual privilege, the stupid are constantly discriminated against and made fun of. Sane privilege, because the mentally ill are stigmatized and looked down on. In some states they can't even purchase firearms. Northern privilege, because people from the South are made fun of, called rednecks, and assumed to be racists. Video privilege, because YouTube commenters are mostly ignored. They're only allotted 500 characters to type in, and no commenter ever generates subscribers the way the video makers do. It's institutional discrimination, I tell ya. Victim privilege, because portraying yourself as a victim gets you a free pass to be a bigot towards your alleged oppressors. Living privilege, let's face it, the dead can't get married, can't drive a car, can't own a gun, are not eligible to vote, do not get hired, have no right to legal representation, and are not permitted the right to own property, and are in fact the property of the state or their next of kin.
Can we stop doing that? Can you just stop saying stupid things like that?